Alrighty, I'm gonna start this right off from where I am in basically part 3. I'm gonna keep the original landing with Sarah, I guess, but I was gonna try thought the different dialogues with Andrasia would work, but apparently I didn't get any.
One particular colony housed several hundred of these souls. They were each alone and isolated, individual tiny flames that could be snuffed out at a moment's notice. But Jinan encountered the great serpent and was given the gift of knowledge. They followed his guidance and his light, and they cast aside the burdens of their former lives. He shared his knowledge with those around him and lit the way for them. And thus, House Varun was born. Now you too have the chance to cast aside your burdens, to relieve yourself of anything that holds you back. The people's hopes and fears and dreams were entrusted to the great serpent. They made the leap of faith that brought House Varun to greatness. You may now follow in their footsteps and take that same leap. Embrace the great serpent, and he will embrace you. The people of House Varun settled this world, at first in these very caves. Jinan Varun himself slept among them in these shelters. It was here that he spread the word of the serpent, and it was here that the people of House Varun first understood the truth of the shrouding, the great serpent's return. It was here that the people of House Varun first understood the truth of their place in the universe. He will encircle the universe he created, and all those who do not follow will be cast into shadow. And the people weighed this knowledge against their former lives, and saw how they had been blessed despite the difficult new life that awaited them. You too would do well to feel that solace amidst the pain. Until that day comes, we are the voice and the hands of the great Serpent. Our every act a sacrifice to hasten his return. Make now a sacrifice to prove your devotion. And remember, whether in life or in death, all must serve. Let us begin the final ritual. While none since Verun have stood before the great Serpent, we can all feel his presence. To solidify his bonds, you are presented with a simple choice. Before you on these days are several items. They represent different aspects of House Varun's connection to the Great Serpent. Pick the two that call to you. Place them on the altars. Offerings to the Great Serpent that he may fill you with his spirit and make you promise. And so you arise, one of the promised of House Varun. Did you feel the great? Yes. Your confidence is impressive. Through strength and perseverance, House Varun will triumph over all that stands in its way. I grant you the title of Vindicator. All will know you. All will trust you. Above us, in the grand ship morning, jewel of the Varun fleet, the High Council awaits your arrival. Serve them. Serve the great Serpent. All must serve.
Hopefully I picked the right one there.
Hi, Dan. What do you need?
Welcome, Vindicator. You stand before what remains of the High Council, advisors to Anasko Varun. We are all that is left after the disaster that has befallen our people. I represent House Dulkef. Jamal is from House Kadik, and we are joined by Lovek, of House Vital. We are, all of us, hopeful that your arrival in Dazra and your clear connection to Anasko Varun, for the first time in weeks, represent some semblance of hope. But you do. We have only seen brief glimpses of him since the incident. But you heard him speak. How can that be taken? Please.
By all means, Malabor. I can't wait to see how you spin this.
Please, can we just for a moment...
Can we just for a moment what? Discuss whether or not to allow the first convert to House Varun since before any of us were born? A bit late on that, it seems.
You were not there. You did not see Anasko. It felt different. We have already wasted so much time and...
You're correct. I was not there. Because you elected to travel to the spaceport on your own. And then decided this on your own.
Do not waste time with more bickering. Anasko, and by extension House Varun, suffers with every passing moment.
Of course, Lovek. My apologies. Please, Malabor, do go on.
Anasko Varun, like his father before him, has relied on the teachings of Jinan to guide us. Anasko wondered if perhaps it was time to seek guidance directly from the Great Serpent. He so sought a means of reaching out.
Perhaps he found the teachings inadequate.
Careful, Kadik. You tread on dangerous ground.
I mean nothing by it. We simply were never consulted on the matter and do not know the full motive.
The point is that a series of experiments have taken place over the years, utilizing grav drive technology to hopefully make direct contact with the Great Serpent, similar to Jinan Varun's initial meeting.
And then something went wrong.
We do not know what happened. We were not inside the Scaled Citadel at the time.
Had we been, we wouldn't be standing here now. We'd be like the rest of them.
A great tide of energy emanated from the Scaled Citadel and swept across Dazra. Much was destroyed in its wake. Those caught in the blast have been left in a state of confusion, trapped halfway between our universe and the Vortex. The Citadel itself remains in such a state. Right there and yet beyond our reach. We can only assume that the experiment is still running, somehow preventing us from entering the Citadel. We cannot get in, so we cannot stop it. We're beginning to lose hope before you arrived. Your arrival and your interaction with Anasko shows that he can... The plan had been devised to access the Citadel, but the work stalled. Clearly, it is time to move forward with it. The current head of our science team, Ekris, should be in Jinan Plaza down below us, towards the Citadel. Tell him about your experience with Anasko, and that work on the morning device must proceed.
Do you know the scientists out at Hamadi Station?
The old married couple? Azad and Shireen, if I remember right. I've met them a few times. They seemed a little eccentric, but were otherwise quite nice.
That's
Now what should we do?
Nothing.
They made some kind of...
I'm gonna go in here and see what they got for sale.
You have no place in our city. Were it not for the council, you would be cut down, as you should.
Well, I guess no sale there.
Do you truly have no shame?
Well, look who it is. You have made quite a stir, and given the state of things, to what do I owe the honor? Did he now? But approval is approval, and I will spare you much of the technical detail, as I confess that pieces of it I barely understand. One cannot help but notice the energy field around the scaled citadel. Until we can get through it, we cannot shut down the experiment inside, and it has proved quite impossible. We had the beginnings of a plan to build a makeshift contraption to redirect grav drive energy to see if we could penetrate the barrier, but the project came.
This seems like the one time to set politics aside.
Every one of the houses needs to contribute, and every one realized they could potentially use it for leverage. What should have been a cooperative effort turned contentious. And so, construction never began. We have sat here, staring at this disaster. Indeed. I believe I've done enough complaining. If you're here, the council has likely sent word to the houses that it's time to stop. I need to oversee construction here, make sure things are built to specifications. If you could follow up with the houses, that may speed up the process. The first convert in generations. The only one to have heard from the speaker since the disaster. House Vetal owes us access codes for the city power grid. It's the only way to guarantee enough power to activate. House Kadik was supposed to provide a young scientist named Sahima to help me. She had at least some experience with the original Citadel experiment. And Hasmek, the new elder of House Dulkef, he has been distant, guarded. He claims to have vital information. Help me get what we need, and we will see what we can. And I may have something that can help you in whatever trials the Serpent puts before you as we navigate this. We have been nearly overwhelmed with all that has happened over the last few weeks, but I have still spent some time doing my own research when I can. These phantoms, the vortex. Fascinating subject, really. If only there were some less disastrous way we could have Yes, exactly. I am glad does nothing to make the loss any easier. We have encountered several interesting phenomena. First, while the phantoms shift to a fully human form when killed, they often retain small shards that appear to be an almost crystallized version. Second, we have learned that killing the phantoms sometimes causes an even greater disturbance. Horrors, as they have been colloquially termed, can appear from somewhere. We are unsure of their origin, but it is not within our universe. These horrors and their spawn are infested with cysts, a seemingly organic manifestation of. We have managed to collect enough to run experiments and have devised a method of combining them into While they have no use in the development of the morning device, if you find yourself out in the field. Well, then allow me to... The process is simple enough that any industrial workstation should suffice. And, depending on how you combine said materials, you may find the results to be somewhat variable. I hope you can use that to your advantage.
I guess that's a good thing I collected those shards and stuff like that when I was in that starbase.
Yes, depending on how much trouble you're getting into. We have been nearly overwhelmed with all that has happened over the last few weeks, but I have still spent some time doing my own research when I can. These phantoms, the vortex. Fascinating subject, really. If only there were some...
Well, I'm gonna go back to the ship and work on these weapons and stuff like that that was given to me, and I'll start the video, another video after I've done that.